Dear one, there was a beautiful song sung some years ago to two beautiful people. It brings back a lot of memories, sweet memories of two people who are most in love with one another, creating a life of sharing, of daring, of doing, and so appropriate to hear that song now. As we come together, all of us, to a purpose. And we're grateful that joining us, Rabbi Serge Lipp from the Brooklyn Heights Synagogue is here. We appreciate his coming. And Maria Quadra, all the way from Great Neck, representing, as she leads, COPE, a great organization founded years ago, which we'll talk about, by Marty Waldman. So we're here not only to grieve for him, but we come today to support the people whom we love the most. Sandy, his devoted and loving helpmate, his four wonderful children, Michael and Lee, Stephen and Amy, and 5 outstanding grandchildren who were the light of his eyes, Benjamin, Joseph, Susanna, Gordon, and Josh, all who he took within the purview of his concern. The words of the poet could be ascribed to him, as the poet said, he shed round him in the common strife and concerns of life, a constant influence, because that was Marty's way. Some writer once asked the question, what is success in life? Whether life is long or short, what is the measure of its success? He asked, and he answered his own question by saying, one who achieves success, who has gained the trust and ongoing love of his helpmate, the respect and devotion of children, and the admiration and love of grandchildren, who has filled his niche and has accomplished some of the great satisfaction that comes from the work he chose to do, who has looked for the best in others and has given the best of himself, whose life was an inspiration and whose memory is a benediction. So wrote this anonymous writer. But this could have been written about Marty and the truth of his life. When Marty and Sandy married, they created a life of sharing, of daring, of carrying the load together, of seeing each other through. That was their way. And their lives were blessed first by Michael appearing on the scene, and then followed 2 years later by Stephen. In 1965, they moved to Great Neck. 2 years later, they joined our synagogue. Marty became active in our social action programs. And the Waldmans and the Widoms drew very close to one another. We shared some very good times. One time in the pool at the beach, we all got together, won't forget. And also the joys of sharing in the bar mitzvah of each of the boys, of Michael and Steve. Wonderful memories. The drug problem had become enormously difficult, a difficult problem in Great Neck. It was in the schools, it involved high school kids, it involved junior high school kids, big and little ones, what to do with the problem of drugs. Everyone in Great Neck had an idea of how to solve the problem. Because if you don't know Great Neck, let me explain it to you. We don't only have captains of industry, we have field marshals in Great Neck. And a guy who goes into the coat and suit business and makes $1 trillion, he believes tomorrow morning he can do brain surgery. So we had all of them contributing to how to solve the problem. One said, let's bring in the Phoenix group. Phoenix can come in, they'll do it. Phoenix House knows, Odyssey House. Others said, no, we don't do that. Let's bring in Nassau County. They'll bring in their people, they'll know how to do it, they'll help. And what happened of all of this, the group became so numerous, conflicting with one another, solving nothing. And then our social action committee said, why don't we look into it? And that's when Marty stepped into all of this. Marty said, very simple, outsiders are not the answer. We don't need these other groups. Marty said, we have to bring together a community. We have to bring together the leadership of parents from the north and the south. We have to bring together young people who are leaders from the north and south. We have to bring everyone together. And that's what he did. From every area, he brought them together. And he created a committee of caring people, founding an organization that Maria Quadro now heads, that has existed and has survived for 30, 40 plus years. And he not only named it, he is the one who named it COPE, Community Organization for Parents and Youth, and didn't say, I did enough, I've too much already. He didn't walk away. Lesser people would walk away. He said, now that I did it, I got to do something about it. So he assumed the leadership, and he served as the first president of the organization, and it made a major difference in our community and a major contribution to the community. Now, Sandy stood foursquare behind him and in front of him and it's on the side of him, because that's how it always was. Because theirs was a loving and caring relationship for all of the years, I believe 61 years. They took justifiable pride in Michael and in his accomplishments, in Stephen and his accomplishments, in Liz and in Amy, their accomplishments. And there was also the joy that each took in 5 wonderful grandchildren and all that they do and all that they are. Sandy says to me personally, he is with me now. When I wake up in the morning, I find him to talk to him. She says, he'll be with me always. He will always be safe within my heart. And now she can say to him, is it okay? Is it okay? Is it okay? His words always to her. Marty gave dignity and strength to everything he touched, part of his way. His high-mindedness, his noble carriage, his fine face, his tender smile, his distinguished gray hair in his latter years, and his quiet tone all left their impression upon even the most casual of friends. Marty won your friendship both by his intellect and by his character, by the genuineness of his personal relationship with you. I always found it easy to talk to him about anything, about difficult and complex matters, as well as to relax with him in light banter or casual conversation. I never ever experienced Marty seeking to prove his own worth by disproving the worth of another person. It wasn't his way. But he spoke his mind with his own honest informed conviction, without sham, without pretense. And his interest ranged from photography to politics. And he had much to say about what is happening today as we live in this Trumpian world. He would say a lot about that. We shall treasure every encounter we were privileged to have with him. We'll draw upon our memories for the influence which he brought to us. But if all we can do is to remember the death, the dying, and the hurt, then all we do is draw down a curtain made of tears beyond which we cannot see, and block out all of the deeds, the joys, the happy moments that gave life meaning, memories which could do so much. So I would tell you that Marty's true biography is not merely in words, but in the record of his accomplishments. His inordinate love for Sandy, the intensity of his devotion to his children and his grandchildren, the integrity of his character, the strength of his will, and the constancy of his ongoing concern. I've searched my mind and my heart, knowing him for all of these years, to find one word appropriate enough, some word that I would use to express all of this. The word that I find is decent, because decent incorporates all of the qualities, all of the affections, all of the virtues we would hope to find in ourselves, so we find in him. So in the strange arithmetic of living, Marty's life adds up to a rich life, a life of deep, abiding satisfaction. Emerson once wrote, "What is excellent as God lives is permanent." So he leaves all of us with a treasure of memories that will never lose their luster. Memories that will deepen and mellow as the years go by, because it is in hearts of everyone, family, loved ones, dear ones, the best and purest part. Marty now lies within our hearts, eternally enshrined.